Good day everyone, we are the Group 4. So today, we will discuss the Lesson 9 entitled Global Demography. So in this lesson, we will discuss the relationship between population and economic welfare, identify the effects of aging and overpopulation, and differentiate between contrasting position over productive health. So first, what is demography? It is a complex discipline that requires the integration of various social scientific data. Will a child be an economic asset or burden to the family?
Farm and small by street corner enterprises. Families coming from this socioeconomic status usually have big and large children because as for them, the more children, the better it will be since many will work to feed their mouths. The second one is the urbanized, professional, and educated families. Families coming from this socioeconomic status desires just one or two progenes because they are committed to their respective professions and has sight of long-term saving plans. The third one is the rural families. In most rural areas, families held the view that multiple children and large kinship networks as critical investments.
Beyond from these realities, we also have this reality. 1. Regions that rely on agriculture tend to maintain high levels of population growth. 1980 UN report. Areas contained 85% of the world's rural population in 1975 and are projected to contain 90% by the end of the 20th century. 2. The decline of the agricultural population. Gap declined from 50% in 1980 to 37% in 2011 of world's total population. Nourishing the planet. Blog cite that gap raised from 2.2 billion in 1980 to 2.6 billion in 2011.
The rise of urban population. First is migration. One of the reasons why urban population raised. By the 21st century, the world has been 44% urban. For developed countries are 52% to 75%. Second is the international migration. Also a reason for the increase of urban population. Approximately 191 million people live in countries other than their own. The UN projected that 2.2 million will move from the developing world to the first world countries.
Perils of overpopulation. According to Thomas Malthus, who warned in his 1798 an essay on the principle of population, that population growth will inevitably exhaust world food supply. While according to Paul R. Ehrlich and Anne Ehrlich, who wrote The Population Bomb in 1960, it predicted worldwide famine in the 1970s and 1980s due to overpopulation, as well as other major societal upheavals, and advocated immediate action to limit population growth. Fears of population explosion existed in 1950s and 1960s, but the book and its author brought the idea to an even wider audience. Agreed that overpopulation in the 1970s and 1980s will bring about global environmental disasters that would lead to food shortage and mass starvation.
Recommendation of us in global population control. Bizarre. Chemical castration and self-indictomy. Chemical castration is a popular term for what doctor called anti-libidinal treatment. It means reducing male testosterone and administering a drug similar to female hormones, progesterone, through injection or pills. Self-indictomy. Self-indictomy is the surgical removal of an bilateral or both bilateral fallopian tube. Case in point, chemical castration is a set of a corporal punishment for sex offender. Pakistan, South Korea, United States, the Czech Republic, Ukraine, and Nigeria. Policy-oriented taxing and additional child and luxury taxes on child-related products. Case in point, China. The Chinese law mandates that families should have a one child or two based on the recent reform. Children born third, latter shall be taxed.
3. Monetary incentives. Paying off men who would agree to be sterilized to undergo vasectomy after having 2 children. Case in point, the country of China and India. Fourth, institution building. Create a powerful department for population environment mitigation. There was some reason for this fear to persist. The rate of the global population by the period of 1955 to 1975 rose from 1.8% to 2.06% when nations were finally able to return to normally after the devastations brought by World War II. The growth rate rose from 1.8% per year from 1955 to 1875 at 2.06% annual growth rate between 1965 and 1970. Developed countries justify their support for population control in developing countries by depicting the latter as conservative societies. For instance, population experts blame the irresponsible fecundity of Egyptians for the nation's run on population growth and the Iranian peasants' natural libidinal tendencies for the same rise in population.
It's the economy, not the babies. Critics of population control. According to Bitsy Hartman, he disagrees with advocates of neo-Malthusian theory and accused governments of using population control as a substitute for social justice and much-needed reforms such land distribution, employment creation, provision of mass education and healthcare, and emancipation. On the other hand, there are positive effects of population growth. First is the economic development. Many pointed that growth in population of many countries in 1960s aided economic development by spurring technological and institutional innovation and increasing supply of human ingenuity. They acknowledge the shift of population from rural to urban areas, 52% to 75% in developing world since the 1950s. They likewise noted that while these megacities are now clusters in which income disparities along with transportation, housing, air pollution, and waste management are major problems, they also have become and continue to be centers of economic growth and activity. Second is the workforce. Median age 29.4 years, females 30.9 males in the cities means a young working population. There are some assumptions that having a baby boom can mean that there will be more workers per dependents and production will increase relative to consumption, GDP then will receive a boost. The productive capacities of this generation are high in regions like East Asia. Green Revolution. Create high-yielding varieties of rice and other cereals. In 1950 to 1984, global grain production increased by over 250%. If governments push through birth control and programs, they must also include inclusive growth and greener economic growth.
Population growth and food security. World population 7.4 billion today, predicted to be 9.5 billion in 2050, 11.2 billion in 2100. Median age 30.1 overall, 29.4 male, 30.9 female. 90% of population growth will happen in the developing countries. In developed countries, population is stable in general. In most advanced countries, population is declining like Singapore and Japan. By 2050, the population will stabilize at 9 billion. Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, warns that in order for countries to mitigate impact of population growth, food production must increase by 70%. Annual cereal production must rise to 3 billion tons from 2.1 billion tons. Annual meat production must rise 470 million tons from 200 million tons. FAO recommends that countries increase their investments in agriculture, craft long-term policies, and development. FAO suggests that governments must keep their market open so that there will be a continuous flow of food.